We now have official details on Delta Rain, our next set releasing on November 5th in Pokemon TCG Live. It may seem early, especially with 30th Celebration on September 15th, but pre-releases for Delta Rain start on Saturday, October 24th. Expect the 4 promos to be announced in late September. I guess the first piece of business to attend to is the Megas. The Megas, whatever. There will only be 4 total Megas in Delta Rain, meaning that to your utter dismay, Mega Tatsugiri EX is out. I know, this is a bigger blow than what a Mega Golisopod will give you. But let's be real, this card is horrible and I'll definitely be making a video on it at some point. Tatsugiri's omission also likely means that Lita is out as well. Considering she only activates after a Mega's KO'd and only accelerates to a Mega, Lita was never going to be highly playable. Still, it sucks harder than Ash's Heracross on Bulbasaur's Bulb. Getting to what is in Delta Rain, we were shown the English images for all the Megas. There's nothing too surprising here. Just expect to hear the words Ruler's Roar a ton come November. Along with Storm Emerald for KO, and did you know that in terms of male human and female Pokemon breeding, Vaporeon is the most compatible Pokemon for humans? I'm also slightly confused by Golisopod having the quadruple hold attack name, though I guess it's due to the whole having 4 arms thing. Then there's the new dual stadiums. Legendary Summit was the only one shown off in English today, specifying that you have to play both halves at the same time. Despite each piece being a different number in the set, they both carry the Legendary Summit name, meaning you can only have 2 of each piece in your list. Or I guess 3 in 1 if you're feeling swifty. It's also worth noting that the right side doesn't get a name. And if you're ever wondering whether your opponent has one of the pieces in their hand, just look at their cock. If their head is slightly cocked to the side, just like with breaks, you gain crucial information. The press release also confirmed that if you pull one piece in a booster pack, the other will be in there as well. Now, despite the announcement mentioning that Delta Rain has over 135 cards, that's not quite correct. Delta Rain only has 103 unique cards in the main set as proven by the English cards. The rest are ultra rares and such. Japan's Storm Emeralda set had just 76 cards in it though, meaning those other 27 cards have to come from the crappy starter decks. Starter decks which just so happen to include 27 new cards. However, Grisham should still make the set. Yeah, what's weird is that the press release says Delta Rain will have 6 total Pokemon EX. That means the 4 from Storm Emeralda will be in. Talonflame is by far the best, continuing to exceed my expectations in early Japanese tournaments. You could also make a case for Raikou in a Mega Ray world, but definitely not wishy-washy. And Heat Rotom needs better discard cards to be competitive. The weirdness arises like chaos in my pants when Ash turns his hat backwards and the camera zooms in on his eye because there's 3 EXs in the starter decks. Even I know that 4 plus 3 is more than 6, so somebody's getting cut. It's almost guaranteed to be Eevee, who will either be included in some promo box or delayed to a set in 2027, just like Mega Tatsugiri and Lita. The reason I say Eevee is because unlike the Terra Eevee EX, this guy can't evolve. It's literally just a random Eevee. If Zorua and the Weed Cats are in the set, then taking out Zoroark and Meowscarada would make less sense than Lunatone and Solrock missing from the Sun and Moon games. Anyway, almost across the board for those 26 cards we're getting from the starter decks, it's a poo-poo platter of crap. Remember, these cards are all designed to teach people the game, not be competitive, kinda like most of what you'll find in 30th Celebration. Still, I'll do a quick overview of every single card once again right now in order of how they'll appear in Delta Rain. It will be a little scuffed considering Pokemon Proxies hasn't made proxies, not that I can blame them. Let's start with Shaman and Verizon Wireless. They both suffer from the same issue in that Celebi is better. If you're playing a grass deck and want a turn 1 going second Pokemon, it's the guy who can find 2 grass types plus Forest of Vitality. Not a 20/20 spreader or a draw 2-er. And on the attacking side, Tapu Bulu is your first choice to take the crust off your sandwich, dealing twice as much damage. Out of all these cards, the Meowscarada EX line is by far the best and most playable. Sprigatito has 70 hit points, tying it with the first partner collection one you can't craft in live for several more months, while the attack can deal 30 damage for 1 energy. Floragato, meanwhile, is a means to an end. That end being Meowscarada EX. For 2 grass, it does 120 damage to their active, plus 120 to one of their bench Pokemon that's already damaged. A couple winning Japanese lists have popped up with Dragapult and Arboliva popular partners. It's basically a less destructive Inferno Kick Flurry Blaziken, you just have to find space for grass or Neo Upper Energy. The second most useful line will be Arbolivas. Unfortunately, the designers hate us and the new Smoliv and Dolliv don't have higher hit points. At the very least, their attacks are better. So swap these ones into your existing Arboliva EX deck. As for the new baby Arboliva, its ability is a repel, forcing them to switch out their active. It can also deal 100 damage for 2 energy or 1 with Meganium down. I have seen a couple lists include a copy, making it more playable than most of the other cards in Delta Rain. Continuing to be fair to Jolteon, I don't completely hate it. 220 damage isn't bad, you just lose all energy. In that instance, I think you'd almost always choose Zeraora over Usain Jolt since it's a basic and doesn't require an EV. Rotom is filler. There's several lightning types who can paralyze on a coin flip, including the Stunfisk who also discards an energy. Then we come to another stage 2 line. If electric didn't exist, Palmot's ability of accelerating a lightning energy would be awesome. Even better, it can attach to anybody, not just those on the bench. But being a stage 2 means more deck space and less consistency, what with the whole relying on rare candy thing. There will be a year where electric is gone and Palmot could be our only lightning accelerator, so mark your calendars for March 2028. While this Miraidon is arguably better than the one from 30th Celebration, it's still bad, and if you rewound the video to read it, your feet will become dry. The new Pedo does nothing to help the old one. Neither does the Carvana. Mega Sharpedo wants to deal damage, not discard energy. And Reckless Charge KOing a Badoo while also putting a damage counter on itself is actually a good thing. Darkrai would be useful if it took 2 energy from deck and put them anywhere. Since it's itself and it only has 120 hit points, that's stupid. Morpeko, meanwhile, has the same call for family attack as Toxel, except where Toxel evolves into something good, Morpeko does not. As I talked about previously, Liepard is fine, especially when it evolves from a Purloin that gets 3 dark types. It's just that if this attack where you deal 20 damage times the number of damage counters on your opponent's active was good, Glalie would see a ton of play. No, Dark decks will stick with Brute Bonnet. Back in 2018, Riotous Beating was the strongest attack in the game, dealing 20 damage for each Pokemon you have in play. In 2026, even with access to Area 0, it's terrible. Either of the baby Zoroark are better. Zarude's so bad I don't even know who to compare it to. In a world without a universal reflip card, having to flip 2 heads to do 200 damage isn't worth it. As for Tauros, the best choice for that Paldean Tauros Road deck is the Target Together one, not the one that's ragingly horny. Even when the 50 hit point Eevee leaves standard in March, our new Delta Rain Eevee will be overshadowed by Fetch and Hide Eevee coming in 30th Celebration. And finally, Delibird's ability is an energy lotto. Honchkrow players would love this if it didn't make Ariana less grande. There's always a chance this sees play down the line, but we'll need more special energy to get printed for that to happen. I won't spend any time on the rest of the Delta Rain set list. If you want to see the 76 other cards, check out my full preview linked in the playlist in the description. Or hit pause on the page you want to read about because I'm going rapid fire like it's my first time playing Pokemon cards with a woman and she just promised me a power blow and a speed stroke if I won. That joke won't make any sense until the last slide because someone at the Pokemon Company decided to give both of those attack names to an Aerodactyl from back in the day. It's been a couple weeks since my original video checking in on Delta Rain tournament results in Japan. Not much has changed, which is definitely surprising. Mega Rayquaza EX is still S tier over there, which should be taken with a grain of Knackley. They've yet to host any sort of major money tournament, and city leagues aren't starting up again until next month. Plus, the best players are likely testing the Pitch Black format to prepare for Worlds at the end of this month. Outside of all that, the biggest surprise recently has been the resurgence of Mega Charizard. It's all thanks to Talonflame EX, who is shaping up to be one of the best cards in the entire game. Crazily enough, it's actually both Megazard getting the boost. Because you need to load up on Ignition Energy for Talonflame to attack and get any 2 cards from deck, that has the benefit of benefiting Megazard Y, who must discard 3 energy with Explosion Y. Mega Kangaskhan is ultra important for the combo to work since it's the only way to get Talonflame into play. But if you start the Kangaroo and Hilda, congratulations, you still need to find Latias EX. So I'm thinking going first is probably the play. While it doesn't appear in the top 10 best Japanese decks right now, Megazard is likely in the top 15. The first build focuses on Zard X plus Ho and Energy Switch, removing the reliance on Ignition. The other has Oricorio to accelerate all your fire energy, of which you only need 4 to deal 360 damage plus those 4 Ignition to attack with Talonflame. It's still way too early to give you full lists since 30th Celebration is still on the horizon, but you might want to buy Megazard for cheap while you still can. Similarly, Greninja is also utilizing Talonflame. The Terra already has a use for Ignition Energy to launch Mirage Barrage, so adding it doesn't really disrupt anything. Not to mention, 30th Celebration Greninja is coming out in September, adding even more power to the deck. Plus, when Zinnia's Trust Your Pilot arrives in Delta Rain, you can use her to take a water energy you attached early and give it to someone else. This list is pretty similar to Megazard. Start Kangaskhan, hope for Hilda and Latias, then pray to Arceus they don't have an immediate unfirst stamp to remove the 2 cards you grabbed. Aside from Talonflame finding more holes to fill, there's not much else to talk about in regards to Delta Rain. Sure, Slowking is relying more heavily on Giratina, who you can copy multiple turns in a row to make you immune to damage. It's because technically you're using Seek Inspiration, not Dungeon Chaos Crawler Carl. Additionally, Mega Lucario is running the upcoming Groudon, who does 270 damage for 3 energy if Legendary Lava Lake is in play, shutting off evolution abilities. And I guess I'll talk about Komodo Dragonite. Yes, someone won a gym battle with these cards. I have said previously that Komodo is great at accelerating all basic energy in the top 6 cards of your deck to your dragons however you want. I just have a rational hatred for Mega Dragonite. Though this is probably the best way to play it, especially with Q room to clean up lower HP Pokemon. The list is fairly straightforward, with Petrol and Trolley filling up your bench and Dragonair finding your evolutions for free, provided it has an energy attached. Now, if Mega Ray does end up as a tier 1 deck over here, people will just play the upcoming Pinkerchin. It attacks for any 2 energy, and if they put 7 energy in play, the Pincushion one-shot Slifer the Sky Dragon. Or if you don't want to rely on them not knowing how to count, there's Tapu Koko EX. To try and farm comments, I also want to point out that Pokemon TCG Pocket is getting a new card next week that lets you use your opponent's items. The question I want to ask is, do you think this kind of mechanic should come to the main game? We've had effects of attacks that use your opponent's card, but nothing that outright takes them. And there's even a new Raticate that moves energy from their active to itself. I know deep down this will never happen, but please argue in the comments for my amusement. Naturally, shortly after doing my full 30th Celebration setlist review, official high-quality images have been trickling out of the Pokemon Company. All 5 legendary birds from the first 2 generations were shown off, even though we already saw the Cantonian birds in promo form not too long ago. If you're wondering why Zapdos is shrunken like me after being in the pool, blame the designers. But the big reveal is 20 of the 30 Pikachu from 30th Celebration in English. You can see my full setlist review for the others, but the main one is here, which we'll affectionately refer to as Keep Hidden Pikachu, who is safe from damage and effects while on the bench. If and when the Mega Raichu show up, this is probably the one we'll put in the list, though that won't happen until 2027 at the earliest. Finally, we were also shown all of the new 30th Celebration basic energy in English. You're guaranteed to get one at random in each pack, and personally, I think most of them are terrible. I mean, that metal energy is atrocious. To quickly sum up this video, Delta Rain will have 26 of the 27 starter deck cards in it, which isn't something to get excited about. Somehow, Mega Ray is still dominating in Japan, and Talonflame is helping out a lot of older decks. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to come up with a bunch of 30th Celebration deck lists from scratch, because unlike here, I can't just copy and paste the homework of someone from Japan.